what I have is a white card base and some craft cardstock. And what I'm going to first do is prep my craft cardstock. And I have this old stamp, which is one that I've loved and I haven't used in a long time. And it'll make a plaid if you stamp it horizontally and then you stamp vertically. It actually makes plaid, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. So, but for this sample I'm going to try it just going one direction. I'm using my crumb cake ink and I'm going to just stamp it all the way across to get my background. And I want it to be light, so I don't care if it's not fully inked up because I'm not doing my best here, but just to give a background. In Kristina's video, she had a nice wood grain background stamp, but I don't have that stamp, so I'm just using what I have. But this is a fun stamp, so if you could find it, I encourage you to buy it and try it. So this gives me some kind of grain look. I'm not going to do the plaid background for this one. And then I'm going to now just still continue to prep this top piece. I'm going to round my corners. Again, I don't have that nice chomper, so I'm just going to use my little corner rounder here and round these edges just to soften it. And then we're going to punch. I'm going to use my 1 3/4 punch. A little bit off to the side in this lower corner here. Just kind of eyeball it somewhere. Punch that out. Okay. Then I have my Cajun Craze piece of cardstock here. What I'm going to do is punch that same size circle out. And then I'm going to take my large scallop circle and I'm going to punch around that circle. Just center it as best I can. Just kind of eyeball it a little bit. And this is going to give me a nice little ring here. And this is what I will add right on top of that circle there. Make my little cutout. Then one more prep work here on this base. I'm going to use my label punch. I forget the exact name of it. And I'm not going to punch the entire shape. I'm just going to punch partial of it. And I'll show you what I get. And this will just kind of give me a rounded, straight and rounded edge. So I hope you can see that corner that I got there. Just trying something different, and it kind of mimics what Kristina did in her video. Now, the next thing is I'm going to now take my card base and I'm going to just use a few little pencil marks to kind of mark where my card is going to go, and actually just where the circle is kind of the main item I need, and then where this little scallop piece is. So I just traced that on my white card base. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put adhesive all over this circle. And this is a lot of adhesive I don't like to use, but for this technique you need to use it. And then I have a bunch of scrap ribbons here, and I'm just going to lay them on top, maybe at an angle, and just cover that circle. And then just trim it so you don't have a lot of bulk. So I'm just kind of picking whatever colors. I like contrast, so I like to pick kind of extreme colors from each other. And use whatever scrap ribbon you have. This is a nice way to use your ribbons, little pieces that you may have lying around that you feel guilty throwing away. Let's add a little celery here. And one more. And you can use designer paper as well, not just ribbon. Okay, so that's my little decorative piece there. And so if I lay my cardstock over it, you get the idea of how that's going to look. Okay? So now the next thing I'm going to do is my stamping of my sentiment, because I don't want my card base to get in the way of that. So I'm going to need my Stamp-A-Majig for this. I'm using my little thank you from my For All You Do set. And I think I'm going to use the Cajun Craze, which is the same color as that flower that we punched out. So if you haven't seen Stamp-A-Majig, it's just a clear transparency and this little square, T-square. And I'm just going to stamp it up and down there. And then I line it up where I want it on my card, move my square over, and then stamp again. Takes a little getting used to, but it works for me every time, and I love it. So now I have my sentiment, and I can't find my nice clean eraser right at this moment, so I'm going to erase with this eraser here, and I hope it doesn't smear. Yeah, so I'm just going to erase my pencil mark there. Okay, now I'm going to do one more stamp. I'm going to stamp this little flower from the Itty Bitty, and I'm just going to use Early Espresso. Just since it's a neutral and it's dark, it'll show up. And just stamp that right next to my little thank you there, just as a little accent piece. Then the final little touches is assembly. So when I was laying this out, I saw these little frills. Let me just move those out of the way. I don't want them sticking out on the edge of my card there. Okay, so I'm going to adhere the flower using my multi-purpose adhesive here, just because it is a thin little strip. So I'm just going to put some on here. Line it up over my circle. Oops. Okay. Then I'm going to put my dimensional tape. I like to use this larger strips. I can't think of the name now, the brand. But because it's such a large card, I don't want to use up all my dimensionals. So when I have a large piece, I like to use this. So I'm just going to go around. One here. Yes, one more piece. Just to be safe and to make sure it's fully raised. And then I'm going to peel all this off and stick it on my card base. And I really like this card because it's kind of brings in old with new products and helps me use my old stamps as well as my scrap pieces of ribbon, which I like. There's that, and I'm just going to add my button here just to top it off, just because I can, and I know it's a simple little touch. Add my matching button right on top of my image. I'm just going to add a few more buttons, and this too mimics Kristina's card. So I got just some random sizes and colors that I have here. And again, I'm able to use products that I've had but not been able to use in a while. And one more. I'll put it on this side, just for visual interest. And there you go. So, thank you for watching. Happy stamping.